Today on this episode of the Brain Surgeon's Take, we will be discussing the 2024 college football playoffs with ESPN and ACC Network college football analyst, as well as former All-ACC player at Clemson University, Mac Lain. Get an expert's view on the first ever CFP. 12 teams and only one winner. Who are the favorites? Who are the sleepers? And who is predicted to take home the championship? Much more on this podcast episode. Welcome back, everyone. Here's my take on Mac Lain. He is in the best position to discuss the 2024 college football playoffs. As a former All-ACC player at Clemson University and now college football analyst at ESPN and ACC Network, his knowledge base and experience with the game is second to none. Eric has played for national championships and major bowl games, understanding what it takes to win at this level. This is the first ever expanded college football playoffs, and the excitement is palpable. With 12 teams instead of 4, the upsets are real. Many fans root for the underdogs, so who should be on sleeper alert? This was a super fun podcast, as I am a huge college football fan and really enjoyed hearing from Eric his thoughts on all the major CFP questions. How much of an impact will home field advantage have in the opening round? Who are the best players remaining? Who are the favorites and who are the Cinderellas? And who he predicts will reach the Final Four, the finals, and ultimately take home the championship. Listen up as we discuss the 2024 college football playoffs. Check it out. Hey, Eric, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, brother? Great to be with you. Thank you for having me. EJ told me about this a week or so ago, and he's like, you got to do it. You got to jump on with my guy. And I said, absolutely. I would love to. Thank you for having me, my man.
Listen, super excited to talk about the college football playoffs. First time ever 12-team playoffs. A lot of excitement coming up, and want to pick your brain and talk about the favorites, the sleepers, the Cinderellas, and we're actually going to go through all the games and get your predictions.
Oh, come on. I like that. Let's do it.
Well, let's start out, with the obvious question, but who's the favorite? It's got to be Oregon, but in your opinion, is there someone who can compete with them at that level?
Compete for sure. I think that's the beauty of just this year in particularly. And it's fascinating to me, that we have the biggest playoff we ever have and maybe the least dominant field that we've ever had. When you're looking at playoffs of years past, you have multiple undefeated, you have multiple, one loss. Man, this year we got a 3-loss team in. My Tigers snuck in with 3 losses. So it just seems like there's so much parity right now and just the back and forth where, okay, everyone probably thought, preseason it was Georgia and Ohio State, and they're in it. But certainly that they have looked human, and then Oregon goes on and is the only undefeated team in the whole deal. And, they had a scare with Boise State earlier in the season. Now, I think they're a drastically different team since that game. But I don't think they look like the Clemsons or Georgias or Alabamas of past that just were blowing people out, every single game. So that to me is why, this is going to be very exciting. When you look at this playoff, when you look at the matchups, the round one games, where people have to go, the brands that are clashing, man, it's really excited. But as we sit here today, I do agree with you. I think that Oregon, should and deserves to be the favorite, running the table, doing their thing and being undefeated there. But I will not be surprised. Whoever, honestly, any of the 12 teams, I would say the biggest surprise would probably be like Arizona State. That would probably be the biggest. And they have a bye. They have a first-round bye. It's fascinating.
I wanted to ask you that. Are they the biggest Cinderella story of the year? I would assume so, because weren't they predicted to finish last in their conference?
Yeah. So it's hard not to say Boise State, but when you throw in that, what you just said, that they were picked dead freaking last to be in their conference and first year, in the Big 12 and all these different things. And here they are with a first round bye. I believe they've only lost one game since they have kind of their quarterback, their guy that they like and have now, which is just fascinating. So, yeah, I think absolutely you've got to give them the glass slipper.
Which is crazy. So you're saying the biggest Cinderella got a first round bye. So just the whole thing, yeah, really builds up for a whole lot of excitement. Yeah. So that's the biggest Cinderella team. We've covered the favorite. Who's the most important player in the entire tournament, in your opinion?
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Oh man,
Or let's say
it's
top
hard not
three.
to go quarterback. Yeah, it's hard not to go quarterback, right? When you look at just the position and what it really means to the NFL, to college now. Um, so probably not in any particular order, but I think Cade Klubnik is a guy that has been on a tear. Especially when you look at what he did last year versus what he has done this year. He's a drastically different human being. I mean, he's just slinging the ball all around. He's pushing the ball downfield, scoring. I mean, he's third in the country in passing touchdowns scored. He has 40. I think he's third overall in touchdowns as well, with total touchdowns there. So hard to imagine he's not a piece of it. And if he turns it on, what can Clemson do? You love their side of the bracket and the things that they're able to make happen. Ashton Genty is a guy for Boise State. Should have won the Heisman, I think. I mean, that guy is a freak of nature, but he probably got dinged a little bit, playing G5 teams each and every week, not in the power level. But I'm excited to see him on full display. What does that look like in this type of setting, this type of competition? Can he be and will he be as effective as he always is? He did against Oregon earlier in the season, but again, Oregon, very different team than they were right then and there. And then lastly, man, it's one of those things which, where do you want to go? What quarterback do you want to go with? It's hard to say Carson Beck because you don't know if he's even going to go. I'll go Dylan Gabriel for Oregon. That guy, can he will them, to a championship, being the number one seed, being undefeated, all the resources that have been flooded to Oregon to get this, to do this. Can they kind of deliver and make that happen? Will be fascinating to see.
So we talked about the pressure situations for all these coaches, but which coach is on the hottest seat during these playoffs?
I don't think anybody's on a hot seat being in the playoff, but one that probably, needs to make something happen. I mean, you think of James Franklin and kind of is that a mug, drinking a mug, drinking a mug? What was that right there?
Absolutely. It's the only way to do it.
That is fascinating. I feel like I'm in a different world how you do that. That was awesome. It's hard not to say James Franklin, just having that stigma of never, ever, never being able to win a big game. And that's all this will be. And you have SMU coming to your house, a team that not a lot of people respect, a team that everyone is saying should not have even been in, that Alabama should be in. So you lose to those guys at home in a playoff game. Whew, it could get weird quick. And not saying anybody's getting fired, but it's just that stigma of you cannot get us over this hump. And I'd probably say the same thing with Ryan Day. It's just one of those things where, these big games happen, particularly Michigan for him, but you just can't close the door. So it is fascinating that, those two right there, a couple of Big Ten schools, it's just people are going to be paying attention, right? And they're going to be really eyeing what are you going to do in this playoff environment.
Yeah, it's an incredibly zero forgiveness environment. You can go
Right.
11-1 and you lose your first round game, and everyone's like, "Let's get this guy out of here."
Yeah, exactly.
It's a crazy high bar that's set at this level, but it's always been that way. It's crazy. Let's jump into your predictions. A lot of games to predict and kind of see what you think are going to be the different angles. So,
Yeah.
Indiana at Notre Dame. Talk to me.
Yeah, how about a little state championship right here for the state of Indiana? Who wants to take the throne? I love that this game is Friday night. I love this game is kind of a standalone, and ESPN, my company, we get to drag Notre Dame onto our network, and that's the first time they haven't been on NBC, I think, since the '90s for a home game, and of course playoffs change all of that. So fascinated to see that and what they're going to be able to do, but I think Notre Dame's hot right now, man. I do. I think they've drastically improved. I think their offensive line has come together a ton. There was a little shaky there at the beginning of the season. And you have the ultimate gamer, in Riley Leonard and the things that he's going to be able to do. Playoff football, grind it out. I'm going with the Golden Domers, man. As hot as Indiana's been all year, the one time that they played, a ranked team, a really good team, they ran into a buzzsaw. And not saying that they're going to get blown out, but I just have to think that Notre Dame wins this game at home and moves on to play Georgia.
Okay, so you think that the Hoosiers season, which has been so magical, comes to an end. Quick side question: do you think they keep their head coach? He's the talk of college football about going somewhere based off what he's done at all these other places. Do you think the head coach stays at Indiana, or does he go to another program?
Yeah, well, they certainly dialed it up, right? They gave him that contract extension mid-season. I'm sure made it very hard buyout wise for him to leave in regards to a ton of money, and also probably compensated him accordingly. So I think he's in a good spot. I think that again, you continue to grow. Now, how long? How long is he there? What opens up? Does LSU open up here in a year or so? It's going to be fascinating to see. But I think at least one more year, he's safe in Hoosierville there.
All right. You mentioned it before. SMU at Penn State. A lot of pressure on the Nittany Lions, their head coach. What's your pick here?
Yeah, this one was weird for me because I did feel pretty strongly about Penn State. And then the more that I spoke to my boy, your guy, EJ Manuel, he's pulling me over, man, to rock with the ponies here. Not that I don't, but I think everything outside of the game is going to be fascinating. How does SMU handle it? They're playing in front of the biggest crowd they've ever played in. I mean, these guys, what they're going to see on Saturday afternoon, which I think that's important, the distinction between it being a night game in Happy Valley, whiteout, versus a noon game in Happy Valley. Still a billion people. But it's one of those things where throwing an out route in front of 100,000 people is a lot different than in front of 30,000 people. The pressure, the juice, all those different things. It's going to be interesting to see how they operate on top of the weather, which I know everyone has to play in the same weather. It's cold. It's cold. People's hands hurt. Both sides. It's not like Penn State has magical powers and they're not affected by this cold, but they are a little bit more conditioned. They are a little more used to doing something of that nature, where guys from Texas probably not so much. So those two factors are fascinating to me. I think Rhett Lashley can dial it up as good as anybody. I think he's had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, which is very unique in the fact with this playoff football that, man, you can have a team figured out. You can dial them up and know what they do and things of that nature. I am fascinated also to see with this offensive line, can they block Abdul Carter, the very talented defensive end, edge rusher for Penn State, a guy that should have been the defensive player of the year, the whatever awards you want to give him, he should have been it, and he wasn't, which is fascinating to me. He's got like 100 tackles for loss and another 100 sacks. This guy's just a beast. But with all that said, I think the big game piece of it matters. And Penn State, for whatever reason, can't win those. And they just don't get it done. I think SMU advances here. And I think Kevin Jennings puts on a show, continues to blossom as his guy. And you look at Penn State, the two-headed monster they have at running back. They lost their backup quarterback who they put in different packages to run the ball. Take that out of it. SMU's built to stop the run. So I think they do that. I think they make it uncomfortable and win in a very close one to get on and move on to play Boise State.
Wow, rolling with the ponies. I like it. I actually tend to agree. I think Penn State has not shown big game ability, the inability to close these games out where they're up or it's super
matters.
close.
That's who you are. That's who you are.
Of course. It's very different than these other teams that have shown that in a money situation, they're going to seal the deal. So, All right, your boys, Clemson at Texas. Now, you got to talk with your head, not your heart.
Yeah, I'm going to talk with my head. Here's my head right here. Yeah, man. Here's the deal. It will be a Herculean effort, right? It has to be. I mean, this is a great football team in Texas. It's at their place. Talk about another team playing, in front of 100 and whatever thousand. It's going to be fascinating to see just how do they control that and the emotions for Cade Klubnik going home. I mean, he grew up 10 minutes from this stadium. Like he probably played in multiple games there, with state championships and things of that nature. So this is very familiar territory for him. But as we know, how are you affected by that? How many family members have been begging him, hey, can I get tickets? Can I get everything? Again, with all of these games, to me, really, it is more so about the things outside of the lines than in them, because at the end of the day, these are all great teams. It's just who can handle the pressure, the expectation, the situation better, than the other. So, looking at that, going to be fascinating. Texas defense all year has been outstanding. And the pass defense in particular, number one in the country. Do not let people throw the ball downfield. Do not let people throw the ball into the end zone. They have 4 passing touchdowns given up all year. I mean, that's crazy. And I mentioned earlier, Cade Klubnik has 33. So something's got to give. You've got good on good, great on great. What's going to happen there? But when I do look at Texas, you dive in a little bit deeper into the numbers. Clemson will by far be the best offense they've seen all year. Like, it's not even close when you look at the rankings, when you look at total offense, when you look at production, who they have driving the train there. The average offense that Texas has played is right at 80 total offense. Clemson is 7. So that's a
Wow.
dramatic difference in regards to the beast that you're going to see there. So how much can Clemson push the ball? Clemson has thrived on big plays all year long, pushing it downfield, utilizing their big tight end in the middle of the field, which, as I said, Texas's strength has been not giving that up. So what do they do there? The health of Phil Maffa is going to be fascinating. I think that Georgia's blueprint to beating Texas both of those times was running the football effectively. Clemson lost their number 2 guy in the championship. If Phil Maffa's not, above 75%, you don't feel great about it. So does that fall on to Cade Klubnik? Does that fall on him to run the ball more, or maybe more than you'd really like to, knowing that you're trying to go on a run here and preserve as many players as you can? So I'm just fascinated to see the approach and what Clemson is able to do. On the other side of the ball, you look at Texas and Quentin Ewers and phenomenal player. I mean, man, he makes throws that you're just like, whoa, that's crazy. How did he just do that? But he has been inconsistent this year, and he has turned the ball over a ton. Clemson is fantastic in the turnover margin. They're top in the country at taking the ball away. Texas is top in the country and giving the ball away. They're over 100, I think 113 in the country with turnovers that they've given up. So how can Clemson take advantage of that? And then the matchup between All-American Banks, if he's healthy at left tackle, versus All-American snub TJ Parker at defensive end, who's been on a tear, who has gotten the football out, has like 11 and a half sacks, 6 or 7 forced fumbles. I mean, that's crazy to see those numbers that he has there. If he's introducing himself to Quentin Ewers a couple of times, this could be a different game. So I think who can run the football, who can get the turnovers in these big games, that's normally the key. I'm going Clemson, man. I think they can get this done. I think they can silence that crowd and move on to the next level.
I love it. Final score. Give me a score prediction.
Oh, man. So the spread is 11, which to me is just absolutely nuts. I'm trying to find the over-under for you real quick, so I'm not just saying something outrageous. It's 51. Man, I could see it like 23-17 Clemson. Just a nasty little game. Field goals matter. NFL, like, take the points. That stuff matters. I think it's going to be close, but I think Clemson gets it done.
Ooh, exciting. All right. Hopefully. And last first round game, Tennessee at Ohio State.
Yeah, this one's fascinating too, just because of weather and what's it going to look like. Really, I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched. I'm surprised the spread is as big as it is, with Ohio State at 7, favored by 7 there. I just think that there's some fuel there, losing their last game, to Michigan, not being in the championship game there. But Tennessee, man, what travels really well is running the football and defense, and they are great at both. I mean, they're really fantastic team. I think I'm going to go the Vols. I think they run their way. I think it's an ugly, ugly game. The horseshoe's going to be popping. It's going to be loud. Run the football, control the game, control the clock, take the life out of them.
I think a lot like Penn State, Ohio State just hasn't sealed the deal. And I think in big game situations, I agree with you. I'm going with the Vols as well.
Yeah.
Plus, they have an amazing quarterback who, should be going to the
Nico,
league.
man,
so
he can sling it. He can sling it.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the second round here. Boise State versus SMU. Two relatively sleeper programs. Probably shouldn't be sleeper programs, but less in the limelight, not really in the mainstream media that much. But Boise State versus SMU.
Yeah, man. And this is what's fascinating, is just how can Boise, take it to another level? What are they going to look like when everyone knows you're giving the ball to Ashton Genty? Like that's just, you're going to, and you're going to test that as many times as you can. I mean, he's going to have 30 plus touches in this game. SMU's built to stop the run. They're the number 1 rush defense in the ACC. They hammered Clemson in the ACC championship. Clemson could not run the football. Now they don't have Ashton Genty, and they had a banged up running back. So what does that look like? How are they able to limit him? And to me, it's in a neutral environment. It'll be in the Fiesta Bowl. inside, turf, grass, whatever. Let's roll. Like it's going to be fast. It's going to be a fast environment. I think you give the edge to the best quarterback on the field, and to me, that's Kevin Jennings. And again, just seeing his brilliance, seeing how he creates. SMU is not one dimensional at all. They are multi-dimensional. I don't think you can take that away. They have too much speed, too many players. I mean, you look anywhere on there, and they're missing their best receiver in RJ Maryland, who's out for the year. If they had that guy, shoot, man, this would be a whole nother ball game. I'm giving it to the Ponies, which I know I'm a homer. I get it. I think it matters, though, when you have a better quarterback and when you have a guy that dynamic. And I think they move on, and this story continues to roll for SMU.
All right, Arizona State versus your boys, Clemson.
It's very similar to the matchup we just spoke about. Who's the more dynamic quarterback? Clearly, Cade Klubnik. I mean, the things that he can do, and you're dealing with, just like Boise and SMU, one of the best running backs in the country. The only difference is Clemson has not been able to stop a bloody nose. I mean, their defense so inconsistent this year, with stopping the run particularly, but it just feels like if you know that's what's going to happen, they're getting this guy the ball. Can you dial it up for one game? Can you force the issue? Keep Sammy Brown in there. Don't take him out. Don't go nickel. Keep that stud in there, that fantastic true freshman linebacker. And can you get it done? I think Clemson would probably be favored in this game, and I think they cover whatever that number ends up being. If it's 7, if it's 7.5, I think they get it done and they advance to the Goodyear Classic in Dallas. They're just going from Texas to Atlanta to Texas, and who knows, maybe Atlanta after that.
Yeah, I mean that running back that the Sun Devils have, Skatibo, he's a bad man.
Yeah, he's a beast.
So
and he's not a teeny
gotta,
dude. He's a big monster.
Yeah, and he runs angry. He runs super angry, and he's out to hurt people. So,
there was a couple of games this year where he was held in check, and so if Clemson's studying that, how do you do it? What do? You just load the box up, take away that left hand, right hand? It's fantastic, but you have to sell out. I mean, you have to respect it so much that you're not saying, "Oh, we'll do what we do." No, you sell out to stop that guy and see if anybody else can beat you.
Oregon versus Tennessee, going with the favorites still.
Yeah, I'm still rocking with Oregon. This will be in the Rose Bowl. Their fans have had a month jump to buy tickets and sell that thing out, and surely it will be pretty heavy. Green and yellow there. I think the speed. I think the defense overall. Will they be able to run on them? Probably not. So I'm going with Oregon. I think Oregon gets it done here.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to be big favorites there, and I think they seal the deal. Yeah. Georgia, Notre Dame, and you said the Fighting Irish have been hot. They're definitely a very trendy pick to go far. Georgia, in my opinion, when they're on, they're the best team in the country, in my opinion.
Right.
But who do you see, Georgia versus Notre Dame?
Yeah, this is fascinating to me now because of Carson Beck. Like, where's he at? And you being a healthcare professional there, what do you think with old UCL? Is he done? Is he in? Is he able to kind of go? What are your thoughts on that injury? Give me some inside scoop here.
I mean, I would say if he comes back, there's no way he's 100% healthy, and I think his arm's going to be affected. So I think there's, if he comes back, which I don't think he'll play, but if he does, he's not going to have the arm strength, the normal zing that he has. So
which is a big deal, and it's not like he's some crazy dual threat guy. So you're thinking of Georgia, with a backup, albeit he was a 5-star and he looked admirable in the SEC championship there and led them down the field and this and that what he was able to do. I think overall, just what you said though, Georgia the better team, and can they, again, Kirby Smart has had all this time. He's going to have a plan for either Indiana or Notre Dame, but just really forcing the issue. I would say Georgia goes a really heavy box, uses those monsters and dares Riley Leonard and Notre Dame to throw the ball. I mean, says, let's see. Can you throw the ball for 300 yards on us? I don't think you can. I think the Bulldogs get it done and win that game.
I think also when you talk about teams that have been notorious about not getting it done, Penn State, Ohio State, you got to include Notre Dame. Yeah. There's always so much hype, and everyone calls them paper champions. And they always, in my opinion, they always overpromise, underproduce.
Sure.
Maybe they turn it around this year. So I think that's another reason why you got to go with Georgia.
I agree with you.
All right, Final Four, buddy. SMU versus Georgia. Are you going to keep the ponies rolling? This is
Yeah. No, I think this is where both my ACC Cinderella stories probably fail. It would take a lot. And again, excuse me, when you have those quarterbacks, it does change everything. And I wouldn't be shocked if either one of them win. But I just think Georgia, it's hard to overcome. And it's one of those things where, you just don't know what they're going to be. You just don't know how they're going to, react to that in the Orange Bowl. Great place down in Miami. One of the best bowl games, one of the best playoff environments. And Georgia loves going there. I mean, those guys were slam packed last year in the Orange Bowl versus FSU. So I think Georgia gets it done playing back in the national championship.
you think blowout, or you think it's a close game versus SMU?
Well, it'll be interesting to see, injury wise, like where is SMU? Because that's one thing that we're not really thinking about. This is a crazy journey these teams are going on, and obviously unprecedented that we've never seen before. So, were there injuries along the way? If they're 100% healthy, no, I think they can stay in any game. But if they lose a couple of guys here and there, again, going through this gauntlet, then it could get interesting in a hurry because depth is always a concern, especially in December, January.
Now the favorites, Oregon versus your boys. So you're saying this is where your boys this is where they pack it up?
I want to be a homer and say, let's get a rematch. Let's start in Atlanta, Clemson, Georgia. Let's finish in Atlanta, Clemson. And I would not be shocked at all. I mean, again, where's Oregon at this point? They've played a brutal, kind of game against Tennessee. Physically, where are you? What are you doing? Things of that nature. You got some time in between, but I think you give credit where credit's due. I think you give credit to the number one team in the country. Danny Lanning, such a great coach. Has been really fun to see his ascension right now and to see kind of where he is and where he ranks. And, is he going to put kind of his stamp on college football this season with a playoff run here? So to save ruining this podcast and losing all credibility, I'll go Oregon, Georgia, for the national championship. And I think I'm going to give the edge to Danny Lanning. I think I am. I think that he's that good of a coach. I think, again, you look at quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel in that game in particular will be the best quarterback on the field. And it just feels like, kind of a team of destiny type deal for Oregon to run the table in a year where it's chaos everywhere. The one undefeated team kind of stands tall amongst the rest.
So you don't see Georgia taking home the third and fourth year, 3 and 4 years.
Maybe it's I just don't want them to. Maybe that's what.
I mean,
it is.
me
Not
neither.
that I don't
Honestly, me
Not
neither. I kind of don't want to see it, but I just feel like the team that scares me the most is Georgia. I think Georgia when they're on is just almost unbeatable. But the question is, are they going to be on? So yeah, I feel like I'm with you. I think Oregon's going to win. I'm hopeful that they win, but it would be great to see them run the table and have that fantasy season. And do you think they keep Lanning, or you think he goes elsewhere, including the pros? You think he's going to stay there?
Interesting. I think he stays there. I think that they can pay him whatever he wants, whatever he deserves. Phil Knight and the boys, they're going to pony up and they're going to keep him around. And it's just, is he happy? I have no idea. I've never spoken to him and seeing that thing, but man, when you can have those type of resources, when you can win, and if you're happy, don't mess it up, ride it out, and again, it's not like he's at some small school. This is a, powerhouse and just taking them to the next step. You're cementing legacies forever, right? That's a big deal to be able to do that and to, arguably become one of the best to ever do it at a particular place. So yeah, I think he stays. And they pay him whatever he wants.
Wrapping up, just a final couple questions about how the playoffs are selected. Looking at this year's field of 12, do you feel like it was done right? Is there any bad decisions on your part where someone really got left out and they shouldn't have in this 12-team format?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know where you go, just based off of, maybe Tennessee's a little farther back. Maybe Indiana is out. Ohio State, you look at those and just see, okay, well, we have similar teams, out there. That logo on your chest right now. If they're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, they're probably in, right? With given what they did, being 10-2, having the best quarterback in the country, things of that nature. Alabama having 3 losses, I get the argument, but Nick Saban's not there anymore, right? He's on a desk. He's talking TV. He's not the head coach anymore. So I don't think that benefit of the doubt really exists, especially when your losses are so bad. And I get it. You beat Georgia. Awesome. But you also lost to 2 6-6 teams that are not good. And so it's just one of those things where you can't tell me that the scheduling and that the out of conference had anything to do with it. All those excuses that we heard from Alabama fans and ADs, and it's just hilarious to me. Because just take care of business, take care of who you're supposed to, just like Miami, and you would have been in this
Yep.
thing. So I don't really have any quarrels with who's in, more so the seeding. I don't think I really like the automatic bye just to the conference champ. I think the automatic bye probably needs to be to the 4 best teams. Like, you need to protect the 4 best teams, and the champ should be in, just like basketball. If you win, your conference and you're eligible to get, that recognition, then you should be in. But, given Arizona State and Boise automatic buys just doesn't really sit well with me. First of all, I don't think the G5 should be eligible for that at all. I mean, that's the fact that Notre Dame isn't, but the G5 is crazy to me. And then, just an Arizona State team that they're probably by far the weakest, of the 4 in this field. But who knows? I mean, football is a weird game. They could go on a run here and do something crazy. I don't know if I like that. I think we need to restructure that a little bit.
Final question. Changes to next year's playoff format. You think they're going to expand next year, going to 16 teams, going to 20? What do you see in the next 1, 2, 5 years? What?
Yeah. I hope not 20 for sure. That just seems ridiculous. But yeah, maybe 16. What does it look like? Do we have kind of a play-in game where, Bama and Miami are facing off to get in? Something of that nature. I'm not sure what it can look like, how you can make it bigger. We always want more, right? That's just human nature. We want a bigger tournament. Again, seeding, as I just kind of alluded to, I hope that gets changed and really looked at. Again, I want people in. I want conference champs in. I want Boise in. I want Arizona State in. I just don't think they deserve a first round bye, given who they played, what they've done. So that'll be fascinating to see how they do that. And then really, man, we probably need to address the regular season. I mean, if we keep putting more games on the back end, we have to get rid of games in the front end, which, I know TV people don't want to hear, but that's just a part of it. I mean, this is a very difficult thing to keep playing more and more and more. I mean, we went on our run in 2015, was really the first Clemson team to make the playoff, first Clemson team to be in the Natty, since 81. Dude, I was exhausted after that season. I mean, I was physically burnt out and tired, and so I couldn't imagine having to play 2 more games after that. So it's a fascinating thing, and it's a very interesting deal, kind of where we are now. I will say the game is a lot different. We take care of ourselves better. There's way better nutrition, way better, kind of, on the front end with red light therapy and massages and cold, all that is way better. We had stem gun and an ice tub. That's all we had, back in my day. It's a little bit different now. So you can take care of your body a little bit differently. And I hope those guys are taking advantage of it. But we do need to pay attention to the total count here and what we're really asking from these young men.
Listen, Eric, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait for these playoffs coming up starting this weekend. With the Hurricanes not in it, I'm definitely rooting for the ACC. I'm pulling for your boys from Clemson. I want to see a run for Dabo. I want to see them kind of go to the Final Four, potentially the finals. Would be amazing to see. So I appreciate all your time, all your insight. It's going to be great to see.
No doubt, Doc. This was great. Thank you for having me, brother. And I'm right there with you. As a fan of football, as a guy who is so passionate about this game, I think we're in for a real treat here. And we're going to crown a true champion, which is very exciting.
Can't wait, my friend. All right, buddy. You have an awesome day, okay?
You too, brother. We'll see you.
Talk to you soon.